today we have my good friend, Terri Simon, who I think is a wonderful representation of an independent woman that has her own identity and opinions. And she has been a great role model for me with her marriage to her husband, Jake, who they've been together over 20 years, 22 years. Is that right?
Almost 22, yep.
Almost 22 years. So they have known me since before I met Pete when I was single. So
That's right.
you guys were a very good role model for me to see what it's like to be married. Not only the good aspects, but you guys are just super authentic too. So I got to see more like the reality of what it's like being married for that long. So, okay, Jake has already been on my show. So I'm going to ask you some of the similar questions just to see how you guys explain the stories. Okay, so you met 22 years ago.
We met in 98. Don't make me do math.
98, what was I? I was a sophomore? Sophomore in high school. So you guys met at the law, it was a law firm? Or was it a different company, but he was a lawyer?
We were working at the same law firm, but we worked on different floors.
Okay.
And I met Jake on his first day at work.
Okay. And did you go out of the way to meet him?
No, I worked in the HR department, and one of my really good friends, she's the one that normally did the orientation for the new hires. And she was out sick that day. So she asked me if I could do the orientation, and I was like, no.
That's a very Terri thing to say.
My work didn't have anything to do with orientation. I did more organizational development. And so she's like, please, I already asked 2 other people and they don't want to do it. And I was like, ugh, fine. So Jake was a part of that orientation. I think there were like 6 or 7 people in the orientation.
Okay, and what was your first impression of him?
He was super annoying. He kept interrupting the orientation with comments about, like, this form doesn't make any sense. Like, why is this line here? Like, I don't understand why the signature is at the end. And in my mind, I was like, this dude is so annoying, but also he's really cute. But I have to get through this. So I just ended up ignoring him for the rest of the orientation.
Okay. But then you came back eventually.
Yeah.
You had to like sign something or you had to bring something.
Yes, he didn't finish.
Okay.
Because he was so focused on the process, not the doing.
Okay.
So I had to follow up with him. So when I got back to my office, the next day I told my friend, I was like, here's all the paperwork for everybody. I was like, but I'm going to keep this guy because he was cute. Can you just tell me what to do?
Okay, so that was intentional. It was intentional. Okay.
Yes. And so I reached out to him and I let him know that I needed to have his paperwork back within 24 hours. And then he called me. And I was a little bit flirty in the emails. I was like, hey, if you need like any decorating tips for your office, let me know. So then I went to his office and to pick up the paperwork, and, I was all business then. I was like, okay, here's your paperwork, blah, 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 really quick. And then I was leaving his office, and he was like, so do you want to go to lunch? And I was like, oh, sure. I thought he was just being polite. And I said, yeah, sure. And then he's like, how about tomorrow? And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, dude, you got to dial it down.
Wait, did that make you feel like it was too much, or did you agree?
No, I agreed to go. I mean, I just figured if he was annoying, like before, I just would not go to lunch with him again.
Then you'll know that he's
Right.
really annoying.
Yeah, he's super annoying. So the next morning, I was walking into my office, and my phone was ringing, and I looked at the screen because it tells you if it's an inter-office call, and it said Jacob Simon, and I was like, oh, I wonder what's up? And he was like, hey, I'm just calling to see, it's like 8:30 in the morning. I'm just calling to see if we're still on for lunch. And again, I'm like, dude, you got to dial it down. It's like 8:30 in the morning. Like, lunch is like at 12:30. Like, and I'm like, yes, we're on for lunch. And he's like, okay. Like, and then I think we agreed on the time. And then we went to lunch, and so here we are. 21 plus years later.
That's so funny because I remember you telling me that Jake used to be a lot more intense
Yes.
than he is now.
Yes.
He's chilled out.
I mean, I think we've evolved as individuals and as a result, evolved as a couple. I think that Jake is also very cerebral.
Yes.
So he's intellect forward and I'm heart forward. And so I speed him up and he slows me down.
Okay. Yeah, I see
and
that.
That's how we kind of integrate. Because I live at 100,000 feet and I'm more zoom out. And because Jake is very cerebral, he zooms in. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like, do I need this level of explanation? Like, I just ask you, like, how surf was. He's like, I got in the car, and then I blinked my eyes twice, and then I started the car, and then I picked up Matt, and I'm like, oh my God.
Get to the point.
I think also, like, he's taught me patience.
Yeah, it's a balance, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys balance each other out really well.
I think
What'd
more
you
on
say?
some days than others, but overall, I mean, I think the 21 years reflects that we found our groove for sure.
Have you been with people before who were more similar to you? Like, have you dated someone that was more type A?
I don't tend to date type A's because I don't know. I really don't have the tolerance for that level of intensity. I just feel like it's so energetically, it's so unnecessary and draining. I think that in the past, I've dated people who were intimidated by me.
Okay.
I think it's hard, like as a strong woman or as a woman who has opinions.
Yes.
I'm a very direct communicator.
Yes.
And I'm very comfortable asking for what I want and what I need. And I think that not just men, but humans in general are intimidated by that. And I think that over time, I've gotten comfortable with it because I'm not responsible for how somebody else feels. I'm only responsible for what I put out in the world. And so I do my best to be the best person that I can, and I think that it's also been a balance. But from the very beginning, I feel like Jake was just super comfortable. Like he was just okay and totally fine with me being me, you know? He wasn't intimidated and he could hold his own, and I really liked that. I was like, this dude, like, there's something about him. And so it made me want to keep hanging out with him.
Okay. And then where were you in your life at that point when you had met him? Were you looking to be in a relationship? Were you doing your own thing?
I wasn't looking to be in a relationship. I'm divorced. And also Jake is 8 years younger than me. And so when we started hanging out, I was always really clear that we were just hanging out. Because in my mind, I was 32 and he was 25. And so I didn't see it being long term. I think I was assigning meaning to the numbers in the very beginning that ended up not existing. Like that narrative changed the more that I interacted with Jake.
Got it. So do you feel a difference, or did you feel a difference with the age gap, or
I
not?
think in the beginning, yes. I mean, 25 is 25.
Yeah, you change a lot from 25 to.
Also,
now.
I was divorced and also a single mom. So I was in a very different place in my life, you know. Also, we have very different backgrounds, very different socioeconomic upbringings. My dad worked in a factory. My mom didn't work. Jake's dad is a neurologist. We grew up in South Central. Jake grew up in Orange County. So I felt like we were just coming from different places. But the way Jake interacted with me just made all that disappear. He always saw me.
Oh, that's a good
You know?
feeling. That's a
Yeah.
really good feeling. Oh, tissues. Do we have tissues?
I feel like he always saw me and he always accepted me, and I loved him so much for that
Oh,
from the very beginning.
yeah, that really is.
Oh God, that's
what
unexpected.
I know. That is one of the best gifts that I
Yeah.
think someone can give you is to love you for who you are.
And he also like was really willing to call bullshit, you know? As a strong woman in the world, I think that people are intimidated by. I mean, I think you experience this as well, is that there's not a lot of people who are willing to call bullshit. I think people shy away or they avoid
Mhm.
or they are people pleasers. And
Yeah.
so then they try to make you feel responsible for whatever they're feeling, you know?
Yeah.
And I never got that with Jake. He was always like, yeah, I don't think so. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that helps you grow as a person.
Absolutely. That's an important balance because, like you said, being a strong woman, like, you don't want someone that you could just like mow over.
No, that's so boring.
No, and it's just not attractive either. You know, you want someone with a backbone that'll push back a little
That's
bit,
right. And Jake and I are both pretty strong personalities, and we're both alpha. It manifests in a different way, but I think that I would describe us both as very alpha. I mean, we have some really good fights, if you can imagine.
Yeah, which I think is great to talk about too, because a lot of times we're on Instagram and you just see the highlight reels, the good
Yeah.
stuff. And I remember telling Jake when I first met you guys that I really admired your marriage. I'm like, I want what you guys have. I think you guys have a great marriage. And he said, you know, well, don't forget, this is just a glimpse of it. There's the other side too, where we drive each other crazy. That comes with it. That is part, you know, that with the
Yeah.
good, there's like the bad, you know, the annoying stuff too.
Absolutely.
And if you choose to go get into a long-term relationship or get married, that comes with it. No matter how compatible you are, I think, right? You're going to have to
Definitely.
compromise. It's two people coming
Yes.
together.
And I think there's an ebb and flow over 21 years, you know, where, you know, we have long stretches where we're in a really good groove. And then we have periods where we're like, oh my God, I cannot stand to look at you and I'm going to punch you in the face, like with every breath you take.
I don't even want to hear you breathing. I do get that.
Yeah. And, you know, Jake feels that way about me sometimes and I feel that way about him. And I think that we've gotten better at conflict. And I think that is a really critical component of staying in it for this long, you know? I think Jake is also better at forgiveness than I am. He's a little bit better at vulnerability than I am. So I've learned to be better at those things as a result of Jake holding space for those and him modeling those things for me when we have conflict.
Okay, so would you say you're more like he's rubbed off on you, like each other, like you're more like each other now?
I
in certain
think
ways?
that we have turned up our abilities to have heart in the relationship. And it manifests in different ways for both of us. So Jake is more likely to go from 0 to 1,000 when we're having conflict. So he gets angry a little bit faster than I do. At the same time, he's also better at forgiveness. So I've learned how to manage my going from 0 to 1,000. Because if we're both at 0 to 1,000,
Yeah.
then there's no conversation. There's no communication happening. Even though you're saying words, there's no real communication that is happening. And so I think just through experience, I've learned, okay, if he's like at 1,000, I have to try to be at as close to 0 as possible. Even if it's only I'm at 900, I have to like, you know, just like breathe into the situation and just really try to like stay grounded.
And you are good at that because I've seen you do that where I feel like I would be reactive. You stay very calm.
But I'm sometimes screaming on the inside. I'm like, oh.
I need to learn that. I need to learn. I have a bad temper. I can be pretty calm, but when that switch flips,
Yeah, it's hard.
yes.
It's really hard. And I think, like I said, I think we've gotten better at it. I mean, in the beginning, we were both like at 1,000, and it was hard because we'd have like these multi-day fights, where like keeps resurfacing, or like you're just silent, or like doing things that aren't productive. And now I feel like we can have like 10-minute fights,
Okay.
and even if it's a big topic, I feel like one of us is able to get in a space where we can diffuse. And I think that it's situational. Some days he's better at it and some days I'm better at it. But I do think that one of us staying grounded is really helpful. But we've done a lot of self-work.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you guys have done? Have you done therapy or meditation, or how do you guys do personal growth?
We haven't done therapy. We have, one, had a lot of fights over 21 years. We have done, one thing that had a really big impact on our marriage is that we did the 10 days of silence. And we've done that, I think, 3 times at least. Yeah, we've done it 3 times. And it's we go together, and there's no reading, no writing, no talking, no exercise, no music, nothing. You're just sitting, meditating for 8 hours a day. And I think that we started doing that when we had been married, I think, for 15 years. I was really surprised at how fundamentally it changed how we communicate and how we have conflict. So I think that was a big thing. I think we also give each other a lot of space to be with our friends and like do whatever you're going to do, or like sometimes like one person will come home and will say like, okay, there's no talking for an hour, because that person just needs the space to be. And I think not being offended and just being okay with that has also been really great for us. But like Jake will go on trips with his guy friends, and I'll go on trips with my girlfriends, or he'll go the whole day and hang out with his friends, or I'll go the whole day. I mean, just giving each other a lot of space to be who we are. But then when we come together, like we can really appreciate like being together.
Was it like that in the beginning too, like the you do you, or was it more, did you guys hang out more in the beginning and then kind of find a balance?
I think I'm an ambivert, and so situationally I'm an introvert or an extrovert, or I can just kind of be in the middle. So I've always been comfortable doing things by myself. And I come from a big family. At one point there was 11 people living in my house. So I really appreciate and I'm comfortable being with me. And I think Jake had a little bit of a hard time with that when we first started dating, because I would say like, oh, I'm going to go do blah, blah, blah. And he would ask me like, who are you going with? And I would say, I'm just going by myself. And he would be confused or he would ask me like, why can't I go with you? And so I'm like, because I just want to be with me.
It's me time.
Like me. But I think it's situational also. Like sometimes Jake wants to be gone like 2 or 3 days in a row, like all day with his friends. And I'm like, maybe not every day. Maybe not 2 days in a row, because I want to hang out. Like, I don't know. That happened recently, actually. He told me he was doing something with his guy friends like 2 days in a row. And I was like, really, on Friday? And he goes, you get enough of me. And I said, no, I don't. So, I mean, I think sometimes like we just want to hang out more than other times.
Yeah. So. Yeah, just communicating that too, right?
Totally.
Okay, so with friends, Jake has a lot of friends. You have a lot of friends as well. Do you have guy friends?
I do have guy friends, yes.
Okay. Were you friends with them before you guys got married?
I'm not friends with the same guy. I have one friend that I've been friends with since my son was about 6 years old.
Okay.
And we are still friends, and he is one of my very best friends. I think you know Sean, Sean Gray. Sean Gray was my friend before he became Jake's friend, and then he was only Jake's friend.
Yes.
And there's a few other people like that Jake is really close friends with. That first they were my friends, and then I was like, oh, I think Jake will like this guy. And so I introduced him, and now like they're total buds. So yeah, I mean, I have guy friends, and he has girlfriends, and he sometimes actually hangs out. Just him and my friend. Like he went surfing with Kaylee.
Yeah.
A couple days ago.
That's
like, for
nice.
a few hours. So I mean, yeah, I mean, you just gotta do what you're gonna do, right?
Yeah. No, that's nice that you guys can hang out with some of your.
Yeah. I mean, if my spidey senses go off, I mean, not just because he's my husband, but Jake's smart and he's a good-looking guy. So, if my spidey senses go off, I'll say like, I think that's something weird. Like I'm getting a weird vibe. Jake sometimes like doesn't get the vibe. He's a little bit clueless, like when somebody's like.
We're women, I think, tend to have more of an intuitive sense.
Yeah.
With
so
those
my
things.
spidey senses go off, I'll say something, and then I'll just leave it alone.
Okay.
Because
he has pretty good judgment too. After you say something.
Yeah. Also, he knows I'll cut a bitch.
Have you ever had
energetically?
Oh, energetic. Well, have you ever had fight specifically about something, like one of his female friends, like
no,
or like you can't be friends with this one?
I don't think I ever say you can't be friends. I just say like I'm getting a weird vibe.
Okay.
I'm just letting you know that I'm getting a weird vibe. You know, and then like if we're all together, I think I let energetically people know. I mean, I think you know me. Like, it's not a secret how I feel.
No, it is not. It is not.
So people know if you're welcome or not.
Yeah. And I feel like Jake respects you a lot, that he'll hear you.
Yes, absolutely.
And he respects you, and you're his priority.
Yes. I can't not emphasize that enough. I do feel like Jake makes me a priority. I do feel like he hears me. I do feel like he takes into account checking in.
That's good.
Not asking for permission, just checking in. Like, I'm going to do this. And even if I say no, he'll say, I really want to do this. I hear you, but I'm going to do it because I really want to. And then I just get okay with it, because I also don't want to stifle him. Also, I don't want to be stifled,
Right? No, totally. You have to think of it that way.
Totally.
Right. Okay, yeah.
I think bringing levity also is important, right? I think Jake is a lot more serious and he's a lot more stoic than I am. I think less now, but when we first started going out,
I can only imagine. I've seen photos.
Jake was so stoic. Like, I just can't even again, very left brain, very cerebral, very logical, almost very black and white. And I can be cerebral too, but I'm more chill about my cerebralness.
Yes.
So I remember we were working at the law firm, and we were dating, like we were officially dating, and it was kind of old school where they had like inter-office mail, and like the guy would come around with this little cart and like drop off the mail. So sometimes I would like put like Hershey Kisses in an envelope, and I would have them inter-office to Jake.
That's cute.
So the first time I did it, I remember we were on the phone. We were both still in the office, and we were on the phone, and I was like, hey, did you get my inter-office mail? And he was like, I did. I think this is a waste of office resources. I don't think you should be using, like, company envelopes to do this. Also, like, he has to make an extra stop. And in my mind, I'm like, is this guy serious? Like, what? And so, like, Jake's approach, like, in the beginning, I would always be like, what?
Fun killer.
Yes, he was. He was like the fun killer. And I'm always like, I always try to like, I always have a joke or like, I'm always like a prankster.
Yeah.
Like I'm always like joking around.
Totally. I get you.
And Jake would always be like, like he gave me like this dead look. And I'm like, I'm just joking.
Right. And you don't need him to laugh, too. One of my favorite things about you is you laugh at your own jokes,
Yeah, totally.
which I think is one of the most endearing qualities. And it's a healthy place to be, too, because, like, you don't need the other person to laugh.
I mean, he sometimes, like, most often he, like, won't even look at me when I'm, like, joking around. Like, I'll be going in the morning, you know? He, like, won't even look at me. And so, like, our big joke is, like, I'll just go, come on, hon, nothing? Nothing? I got nothing? And he'll go, nothing.
That's so funny. It's Pete's similar to Jake in that way.
Yes,
as
very
well.
stoic.
And just sometimes, like, just no reaction.
Right.
And I've gotten used to it now, but in the beginning.
I know, right? In the beginning, you're like, come on, dude. I'm kind of awesome. You got to give me something.
But it's funny how that kind of personality, I feel like, it goes well.
Yes.
With personality like ours.
Because it's balancing.
Yeah.
You know, it's definitely very balancing. The other thing we do is sometimes when we're like annoying each other, have you seen that Steve Carrell meme where he's like, why are you the way you are?
Yes.
Okay, so we say that to each other. Like if like he's doing something annoying or if like I'm doing something annoying, like the response will be, why are you the way you are?
That's funny.
So we try to bring levity situationally, you know.
Okay.
On a good day.
Okay, let's talk about Jake's style evolution.
Oh, you mean like his style?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Okay.
You've done a good job.
I always joke with Jake that I made him cool, but actually
That
I
is
think
true.
he made me cool.
You think so? Maybe both ways. I will definitely say you did make him cool based on the photos I've seen and from when I met him like 7 or 8 years ago.
Yeah, even then, right? I mean, I think we both evolved as humans, and I think you can probably see the evolution of our togetherness a lot. Okay, let's see. How would I describe Jake? Okay, so when we went on our first like official dinner date, Jake was wearing, I will never forget this. He was wearing khaki pants.
I knew it. I was waiting for that. I was like, his khakis.
He was wearing like khaki colored polo that had like stripes on it, horizontal stripes. So a little bit collegiate, like a kind of a combo of collegiate and nerd. And then he was wearing like these Mephisto shoes. And he was wearing a green like ski jacket with purple like lining. And I was like, oh my God, this guy. But he's so like cool that like I felt like it was so comfortable to hang out with him. So I'm like, you know, it's like when you go look at a house, you can't look at like the color of the walls. Like you have to see the bones. You have to like
the
look
diamond
that's
in
right.
the rough.
The diamond in the rough. I was like, this guy has a good heart. It feels cool to hang out with him. So I think slowly, like I just started like suggesting, like we would go shopping together, and he was like super open too. Also, he
that's
had
good.
big hair.
Oh, you had to tame
boy,
that?
he had. It was a lot.
You got to tame that.
I took him to my hair person, and she like did him up. And then I remember like at one point we even got highlights in his hair.
Oh my gosh.
It was like he was like so open to whatever.
That's great.
So I think that also he got a little more comfortable with non-traditional because I'm definitely way less traditional
You're stylish.
than Jake. Thank you.
Yeah, so it's taken almost 20 years to get to where he is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, a little at a time. I think also it's important to let him be who he is.
Of
know?
course.
So,
Of course.
it's like, why are you the way you are?
It's a balance, right, of
Yes.
being supportive and
Like the
suggesting.
mustache.
Like the mustache.
Oh.
So Jake had a mustache this week, and Terry was a little concerned that he would have it for his podcast recording.
Also, just in general.
In general, the first thing I said when I saw it was, "What does Terry think of that?" Because I knew.
You could tell.
I know. I just know.
It was so creepy. I was like, a little bit creepy. Just a little bit.
I took a poll on my Instagram about asking
And?
what people think of mustaches. And I think it was 67% said, hell no. But I feel like the other, 33%, 34%, it has to be guys. Mostly guys.
Definitely. Yes. Also, some guys can rock a mustache. I think Jake is not one of those guys.
Even though it does, like, he has a very handsome face.
I mean,
and
he still looks amazing.
He does, but
it's also like a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
It's a little bit creepy.
Yeah, when Pete does that to me sometimes. What is that? Why?
I also I was like, it's a little bit uneven on one side. Like, you gotta you gotta do it right if you're gonna do
Clean.
it. Yeah. So I was like, no, please tell me you're gonna shave that. And he's like, I'm gonna leave it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Like, he hates my short hair.
It's always been like that. I remember you said that for your wedding you grew it out.
I grew out my hair. When I met Jake, I had short hair.
Okay.
And then just like over the years, like, I had short hair, long hair, short hair, long hair. But he always prefers me with long hair. But I have really curly hair, and that's not how I want to spend my time. I just cut it off.
You look great. Not everyone can pull off that haircut. I cannot pull it off.
More laziness than anything.
No,
Thank you.
It looks great.
But he's like constantly like, can you please grow your hair out? And I'm like,
you met me like this.
yes. Also, I don't want to spend 30 to 40 minutes blow drying my hair.
It's a lot of time.
No, thank you. Thank you. Next.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of style, you like to do interior decorating. You're responsible for most of the remodel decisions and decorating. So let's talk about the IKEA chair.
Oh, boy. The Poang. My friend Grace constantly reminds me that it's the Poang chair.
So for you guys who don't know, so if you go to IKEA, they have a classic Poang chair. And it's usually the one it's like in a glass case.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's in a glass case, and there's a machine hooked up to it, like pressing it to recline to show what a great chair it is, how many uses you can have. Very
I've never
practical.
seen that.
I see why Jake would like that chair. So tell me the story of the IKEA chair and why it's been a thing for you guys.
Well, Jake likes nice things, but he's also very smart financially. And his approach to financial fluency has worked for us. And he has taught me a lot, and I have a lot of respect for his approach. However, there's a certain style. I always joke with Jake, like, you're tarnishing the Simon brand. Like, when you leave the house, it's a reflection on me.
Absolutely.
Like, I promise you that women are saying, like, what, his wife didn't see him when he left the house? That really happens. I told him, like, that happens. I said, so when people come over to our house, because I'm very particular about our space. Also, we live in a small space, so everything has to be orderly. And I have a particular aesthetic. And Jake likes things, he's focused more on form and function. And also he likes to be smart with how we spend our money. So we went to our friends in Cape Cod to visit, and they had a Poang chair. And Jake fell asleep in the Poang chair. So he's like, I really want to get a Poang chair. And I was like, no, we're not getting the Poang chair. And so literally like a year of like him being like, I want to get the Poang chair. And I'm like, please no, I really don't want that chair. Like, let's get you a nice chair. No, I don't want to spend the money. Like, I don't need that. So eventually he was like, I'm going to IKEA today to get the Poang chair. And I was like, oh, fuck, okay. You're like, what am I going to do? Like, physically restrain. Like, I felt like I had pushed back long enough. So he brought the chair home, and I was like, oh, my God, this is totally killing the vibe of the entire space. Because I had to move furniture around. I literally had to reorganize the living room.
Did you have to get a new couch?
I had to move the ottoman to the other side, which closes the room.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, I won't bore you with the details, but. So then I got him to agree that I would put a sheepskin over the pool just to kind of dial it down a little bit, you know? So my little niece, who's 10, came over. She walked in the house and she goes, "Oh, that's Uncle Jake's chair, huh?" And then she like bit her lip. And she goes, "Well, I mean, you're making it work with the sheepskin."
And she intuitively knows. It does. I mean, the chair's not that bad, but when you walking in, you
on.
can tell.
I go, "Come on."
You can definitely tell that it sticks out
Yeah.
a bit. Like, oh, they picked all this other stuff, but then that one too.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's, in a lot of ways, it's representative of who we are, you know, where Jake feels strongly about having something, or I feel strongly about having something. And then the other person will be like, "Okay, but I'm going to put my little flair on it, you know?" Yeah, there's a lot of layers to that Poang chair.
That's what marriage is, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because from the outside, some people, I've had some friends, ask me about things like, why do you think that's a big deal? Just let him do it. I'm like, you just wait until you're married and living with someone, and those little things stack up day by day.
They do.
And then see how you respond to
They
it.
do. It's true. And I feel like learning to let go becomes really critical. Like, know when to go to the mat,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that's also been a journey for us, knowing when to let go. There's a lot of little things that drive me absolutely insane. And I'm like, okay, just let it go.
It's hard. Well, because I know that aspect of your personality, we're similar in that way.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Of letting things go.
Yes.
Oh, it takes years. Or you just never let it go and then you cut it off. That's another solution.
Yes. I mean, I think we choose our problems when we choose a life partner, right?
Yeah.
You make a
Right.
choice what you're okay with living with or what you're going to live with.
Yeah.
And I think that also evolves over time, right? Like, something that may have annoyed the fuck out of you in the beginning, like, now it's like, it's not a big deal. Like, who cares? Like, why did that ever bother me? So I feel like as we evolve as individuals, you evolve in your togetherness, and it makes you better as a whole.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So how the evolution of your marriage. So you were 32 when you first met.
Mm-hmm.
And so I assume you both people have changed a lot through the years.
Yes.
So have the roles changed?
I think the roles have evolved. Yes. So when I've always been the person who executes. So if Jake has a vision or we have a vision together, I'm the person that executes because I don't feel as stressed out or anxious in the execution that involves the finance. And it's not that I don't feel stressed about the finance, is that it doesn't paralyze the execution of it, or my anxiety doesn't rise with as the execution is happening. And I think that has been why I lead, for example, on the construction. Because even when I was working full time, I would do my walkthrough with the construction guys in the morning before I went to work. I would drive home at lunchtime sometimes if something needed to be decided. And then I would do the walkthrough at the end. But yeah, I think that's part of it, is that we're good at different things. And we acknowledge that in our relationship. And also, like, I don't have a 9-to-5 now. So part of that means, like, I just have more flexibility in my day to do the things. My friend Janelle calls me the getter. She says I'm the getter of the things. And I'm okay with that, But when we do have construction going on, like right now, like, it does become a full-time job.
Yeah.
Where I'm at the property every day for hours at a time. Or, like, I'm sourcing materials because I function like the general contractor. And Jake is really great about making breakfast for himself or doing laundry or like doing things around the house or like picking up the slack that I'm normally doing when we have construction. I'm also the front facing person with our tenants. So I do all the people things. I think it's just, yeah, I think it's just part of like what we're good at. I think I'm good at connecting with humans and vetting the humans for our tenants. Jake is good at all of like when I get stressed about like the nuances of the terms or if somebody's being kind of a dick and I'm feeling like I need to lay down the law, I like run it by Jake to make sure that I don't sound like a total dick. Because I also, like, you have to have a relationship with people who live in your spaces,
Yes.
right? And so, like, I really want to say, like, dude, fuck off. Like, that's not what we're doing. But, like, I'll run it by Jake. And because Jake's cerebral and logical, he'll just be like, well, just say this. And I'm like, he, like, takes the emotion out of it. And so I'm like, oh, that totally makes sense. Like, just say the thing, you know? So he helps me, like, take emotion out of it. And I help him put emotion into it. And so that's, like, another way that we balance.
Yeah.
Because he'll be like, I'm just going to say blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no. You know, so when we fight, someone's like, can you, like, speak to me with, like, speak from your heart,
Yes.
not from your head.
Yeah.
When you speak from your head and we're having conflict, I don't hear the words that you're saying as readily, you know? So I think that's another way that we balance each other, you know? He inserts the logic where it needs to be logic forward, and I insert the heart where it needs to be heart forward. And I think we've also evolved that way in our togetherness, which has been pretty awesome, actually.
Nice. So for opening Jake's heart or putting more heart in, is there anything specific that he does or you guys do together? Or has he just kind of learned through the years to tap into that?
I think as he's evolved, and I shouldn't say he, I think as we have evolved as individuals, I think there's a lot of mirroring that happens in a relationship, especially when you've been together for 21 years. So I think I absorb a lot of his logic and cerebral approach, so that helps me when I need it. And I think for him also, he's absorbed a lot of the heart forward. I mean, my background is organizational culture and humanity. So that's how I show up in the world. And also sometimes when Jake says things to me, I say, well, like, this is a different way to say it that I would be more receptive to. So, like, I hear what you're saying, but I need you to just flip the switch a little bit. So I think it's a combination of osmosis and mirroring.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's both sides, right? It's not, well, everyone's responsible for themselves.
Yes.
But all you can really do is communicate how you feel or what you need. But then not putting all the responsibility on one person. Like, you have to say it this way.
Right. And I think that's where asking for what you need really comes into play. And holding space for the other person to be comfortable to ask for what they need, and also being comfortable using your voice to ask for what you need. I don't think you'll always get exactly what you're asking for, but I feel like we always are able to meet somewhere in the middle. Or I'm able to let go or realize, like, do I really need that? Or do I want that?
Are you talking about shopping?
Because there's a fine distinction there, right?
Of course.
I mean, like, shopping also, like, behavioral. It's like, do I really need him to, like, rinse the sink every time? Should I just be happy with the fact that he wakes up, empties the dishwasher, cleans the counter? Like, when I wake up, like, things are done. Like, there's a lot of things in the kitchen that are done. Jake knows that I like order. And so the one thing that he doesn't do is rinse the sink. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck if he doesn't rinse the sink. He's done like 100 other things.
Yeah.
You know, so.
I'm learning that right now. of when sometimes you just don't need to say anything.
Yeah. Just like, I'm just going to rinse the fucking sink. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So being like focusing on the things that you've got, like 10 of the 12 things that you've gotten instead of the 2 things that you haven't.
Yeah.
I think is a way that I've evolved, you know?
That's huge
Yeah,
as how you like show up and see. Because I mean, personally, I feel like if I'm in a good space, everything's good, right? You don't really
Yes.
see
That's
the
right.
bad stuff. But if you're looking for the bad stuff,
Yes.
everything else is amplified. That's bad.
That's right.
You're looking for it.
Where your attention goes, your energy flows. That's right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about friendships through the years, because you're in your early 50s now.
I'm going to be 55 this month.
You are 55, mid 50s. I can't believe it. I always forget that. I always
55.
forget that.
Yeah.
So you've had friendships through the years. You've had some really long-term friendships, and you've had some friendships that you've ended, or maybe you guys have grown apart.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to talk about friendships just because it's another relationship.
Yes,
And I feel like
absolutely.
those also set the tone of how you show up in general
Yes.
to relationships. Did you lose some friends after getting married because there's less emotional space for your attention to go to nurture other areas?
I have 2 friends that I've known since before I met Jake. And I still see them and talk to them at least once a week, one or the other. My friend Dan lives in San Diego, so I talk to him on the phone a lot. My friend Annette lives in LA, and I see her like once every couple of weeks. I talk to her once a week. So those I have sustained. I'm not somebody who has a lot of friends. I have a few really good friends. I think how Jake and I differ is I'm okay with letting people go. Sometimes you have to let people go. You know, you evolve or your lifestyles change or you grow apart. I think the thing that my friends have in common that I've been friends with for a long time is generosity of spirit, a willingness to evolve as a human, focusing on your own happiness, and just like creative or innovative work in the world. I think Jake has more friends that he's been friends with longer than I have. Like he has friends from elementary school,
Wow.
high school, and college. I can think of one of each of those that he's had. I really admire people who can be friends with somebody for that long. I think that there's a certain grit to the kind of work that you're willing to put in relationships. And I think that shows up for me and Jake since we've been together for this long. I think my ability or willingness to let go and his grit, I think, is another way that our togetherness shows up. And I think that it kind of rubs off on each other. So I like that.
Okay. And then with friendships, when you grow apart and things like that, is there normally a conversation, or do things just kind of trickle off, like both parties kind of know?
I think it depends for me if it's been somebody who I've known for many, many, many years, or if it's somebody who has come into my life casually and then we started hanging out. I think I'm okay with just kind of letting it fizzle out. But if it's somebody that I've known for a really long time and I feel like we just grew apart, I do communicate, you know, that, hey, I think it's like we've just grown apart. Not get into the detail because I don't think that serves anybody, but I'm okay with letting people go.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to take your greatness somewhere else, right?
Boy, we're similar in that way with friendships and things like that. And I think as you get older, you just get more discerning. Right. And then also if you are someone who likes to grow, you will be a different person year after year.
Yes. Jake's always telling me that I don't suffer fools. And I think that's true. I think what I always add to that is like, I don't walk around in the world like handing out fucks, you know? Like if you earn one fuck, I will give you one fuck. You know? It's like, you know, I feel like mutually we have to earn each other's respect and as a result, friendship. And I think that is important to be consistent on while you're in connection with someone in the long term. Always respect that grows the friendship, you know? And if I feel like that's absent, then I think you just have to let go.
Yeah, I agree. I think mutual respect, if that's not there from even just like one side,
That's right.
that's not a relationship
Yeah,
to me.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so a lot of people who listen are single, very capable, independent women who are dating and would like to be in a long-term relationship or find their person. What is a piece of advice that you would give to them of how to show up on dates?
Be yourself. Just work on yourself. The rest will follow. If you're too focused on finding externally, I don't think that it's as easy to find your human, you know? If you work on yourself, evolving, being happy, being fulfilled, then you draw the right person in. You know, I wasn't looking to date when I met the big guy. So I think I was just kind of doing my thing, you know?
Did you have a kind of an idea of what you wanted, or did you just realize it as you got to know him of how it felt?
The latter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the latter. Because remember, we were just hanging out.
Yeah, that's right.
We're still just hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel like we're hanging out because we both put the work in. And so it feels good. It still feels good. Like, I still miss him when he's gone.
Yeah, that's really cute that you guys, both of you guys. And was it like that in the beginning where you would miss each other? Because
yes,
it was like that
definitely.
in the beginning.
I mean, we did 8 months long distance LA to Tokyo.
Wow. Okay. So, and you missed
a
him
lot.
then too. Well, I mean, that's far.
Yeah. But yeah, I miss Jake when he's gone. Like, even if I'm mad at him, I still like want him to be home just so that I can be mad at him.
Oh, that's cute.
You know, like when you're really mad and you're like, don't ignore me, look at me, I'm acting crazy. I can't stop acting crazy, but I still want you to look at me.
That's love and marriage. That's cute. That's really cute. I was curious because maybe because Pete and I met each other later on in life, but both of us are so used to doing things separately, and it's been that way for so long in each of our individual lives that now I'm wondering if down the road, most likely 20 years in, just being used to him being there, then it'll feel pretty odd when he's not. So I feel like I would miss him more. Like I've started to miss him more, but at first I thought something was wrong because I was like, is this healthy? Because I can do things by myself, or do I actually like him? But it's just that we're used to doing things separately, and I think as time goes on, I'll get more used to sleeping next to him.
Yes. Also, I think there's a fine distinction between being used to someone and missing someone. And I definitely think that I miss Jake.
Ah, okay.
You know, it's not that I'm used to him, it's that I miss his energy and his presence and his stoicism. He's gone.
It's funny. Those things are very, I feel like typically at first you wouldn't consider it like a lovable trait. Yes. But it's very lovable because Pete has that too. I almost can't explain it.
Yes.
It's so cute, though.
Yes. It's like a little bit quirky, a little bit nerdy, all of it awesome, you know? I mean, someday, like on a lot of days, like my quest is I'm going to make Jake chuckle today. Like I'm going to do some, like when Jake goes, like I feel like I have like succeeded, like beyond. I'm like, woo, I made you laugh. And he'll just like shake his head, like back to stoicism, you know. I remember when we first started dating, like if I introduced him to a group of friends, they'd be like, I can't believe you're dating that guy. Like he's so serious. I really like that about him, though. As somebody who's like a kind of a jokester and a prankster and like kind of lives life loosey goosey, it's good to like have that stability, that grounding force, the like, like he's like, I would joke around with him a lot that he was like a Boy Scout. My son too, like we'd always joke around like how he was a Boy Scout. It's great though.
I love that quality too. And you know what's funny is that they're very grounded and stoic and could be serious, but in some ways it ends up being really funny. And it's the best kind of funny because they're not even trying to be funny.
It's unintentional. Like I'll be like crying sometimes because it's so funny, and Jake will be like, "What? Why are you laughing? I don't understand."
It's because it's different from the guy who tries to be funny.
Oh, totally different.
It's different, right?
Yes. I mean, with Jake, I always love that what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
At all times. Like
Yeah.
it never, like he's never a different person. He's just like, he's Jake.
Yeah.
Very consistent, very authentic, a lot of integrity. I think he's like one of the people that in my life that I've seen hold so much integrity. And I love that about him.
It's a good quality.
Yeah.
You know how to pick them. Okay, well, we are out of time, but thank you so much for sharing and just being real about being married too, sharing not just the good stuff, but the annoying as fuck stuff that comes with being married sometimes.
Thanks for having me.